Hello and welcome to this live stream from DW News as Europe burns again. I'm Forrest Whiting and it's good to have you with us here on YouTube and also on TikTok. Welcome. Well, here in Germany, authorities have ordered the evacuation of almost 2,000 people as a wildfire burns in North-Rhein-Westphalia. Residents have been told to leave their homes in Hürtgenwald, close to Germany's western border with Belgium. We will be joined by our reporter who's on the scene there in just a few minutes' time. And we'll also be speaking to an expert about the spate of wildfires spreading across Europe. Because a large wildfire has hit parts of northern Greece, with these pictures in from today. Almost 500 people were evacuated by sea, that's according to authorities. But firefighters there said the blaze is now under control. And parts of the UK have also been blighted by fires. This is Stourbridge in central England, where several houses have been burnt to the ground. The flames came on one of the hottest days of the year. The Chief Fire Officer for the West Midlands described the fires as one of the most significant incidents the fire service has ever dealt with. Now, we will be asking our expert what can be done to limit the spread of these fires or even prevent them from happening altogether. So do please put your questions for him into our chat and I will try to get to as many as I can. And hello from Chicago and also from the rest of those of you who are joining us. Please do put all your comments and your questions in the chat. So back to Germany now, and DW reporter Aline Spantig is in Hürtgenwald in Western Germany, where a wildfire has forced the evacuation of almost 2,000 people. Aline, great to see you. What more can you tell us about those evacuations?
Yeah, we try to get as close to the location as we can, but roads are closed now for safety reasons. You can see the police behind me. In the sky, in the air, you can see the helicopters. And on our way here, we saw a lot of emergency cars, firefighters that are bringing water to the location, and also farmers who are coming with their machinery and trying to bring water to the location. I think maybe you can even hear now one of the helicopters in the back. And that is the reason, those fires here that around 2,000 people had to get evacuated. First, they were brought with a bus to a school and other municipality buildings to bring them to a safe location. They were urged to only bring their ID and only the most necessary belongings, but to evacuate the place as quick as possible. Once they were evacuated, they even had to leave that safe spot because fire was coming closer, and you could still sense more of the smoke in the sky and ash. You could see the ashes in the sky. If I look around me, I see that. I see the smoke. I see the smoke behind me already. Even an hour before we were approaching the location, you could see the fire in the sky. And the most important thing now is, of course, to bring people to a safe location. That's why those evacuations had happened.
Yes, very frightening situation for those residents who had to be evacuated. And what about the fire itself? I know that you've pointed out the smoke behind you and we can hear a helicopter over above. But is that fire under control?
Unfortunately, I have to say that it's not under control. As far as some reports saying it will take days to get that fire under control because the scope of it is more than local small fire brigades can deal with. Of course, there is support from other locations on the way. Even the military is supporting now with tanks and everybody's rushing to support here. But you have to understand that firefighters, local firefighter brigades, they are often on voluntary basis. So this scope of a fire like that is just overwhelming for such a small fire brigade. And the situation we are in right now with those extreme temperatures and very dry fields is just fueling the fire and making it, making the situation bigger than a small firefighting brigade can deal with.
Yes, a very good point there about so many of them being volunteers. Just on that fire then, the fact that you say it's still not under control, do we have any idea about how it broke out in the first place?
So the reason for the fire, everything at this point is speculation. What I can tell you for sure is that those fields here, they are so dry. I don't remember when I saw such a dry summer. I grew up, all of my grandparents lived close to this area here, and I remember as a kid I was cycling here, and I remember that even there were hot summer days, but once in a couple of days it was raining and you could see the trees recovering, the fields recovering. But this time it's just unexceptionally dry. Everything is just, if I look at the fields, they are yellow. If I look at the trees, they don't have lush green leaves. They are brown, they are yellow, the leaves. And I can't recall when was the last day it rained. It must have been a couple of days since it rained, so this situation is exceptional.
Yes, and you in fact have been reporting on that heat wave in Western Germany, haven't you? And as you say, we've had these record temperatures, the drought, and now these wildfires. It has been a very difficult summer for Germany, hasn't it?
Indeed, it has been. Because it's not only that we are seeing these droughts and these very dry fields that are just, that can easily catch fire. It's also that water levels are really low. I was just coming back yesterday from reporting on historic low water levels on the Rhine River, Germany's most important transport river, and their water levels are critically low. And that's actually what we need right now. I see the farmers rushing here to bring water. I see the firefighters rushing here to bring water. But many lakes and rivers, they have less water than usual. So those two things are coming together, but in the end it's all due to the extreme temperatures. Germany was measuring record high temperatures this time of the year, and the heat is building up in cities, but where we are right now, you can imagine it more like more countryside, the village we're talking about, the houses we're talking about. Around it you can imagine fields, the farmers here, they would grow crops, for example, corn or rapeseed. But then if you harvested those crops, the field is, you just have like a big area where it's just like agricultural field that is dry. And that is, for wildfires, this is, a ground where it's easy for the wildfire to spread, and same for dry forests that we are also seeing here.
Yeah, Aline Spantig in Hürtgenwald, thank you so much for your time. Do stay safe, and we will perhaps come back to you at another point when we know more about what is going on with that fire and find out if it is under control. Thank you. Well, Alexander Held is a wildfire specialist at the European Forest Institute, and he joins me now from Freiburg in Germany. Great to see you. Thank you very much for your time. We've just been looking at some very alarming pictures coming out of Hürtgenwald. We've seen, though, devastating fires, not just in Germany, but across Europe this summer. Why are we seeing such an increase in fires? And I don't just mean in southern Europe, but also northern Europe as well.
I mean, you're quite right. If you think back just a few years, who would have ever thought the UK, with all the famous UK British weather, would have fires like we've seen yesterday? And who would have thought Hürtgenwald and the Eifel in Germany, where, we made jokes about more than half a year's winter there, would go up in flames like this? And this is not just a small fire. This is a serious fire incident. And it just shows us that all the predictions come true, and they come much faster than we thought. And if we see fires now in Eifel, in Hürtgenwald, this is really surprising, and it's not the typical suspects like, in Germany, Brandenburg, Lower Saxony. Then if this is not a wake-up call now, then I don't know.
We are just seeing pictures at the moment from Stourbridge in the UK,
Yes.
where we saw these houses actually burning to the ground. But I just want to pick up on what you were saying about Germany, because we have had some comments in our chat. Family Mene on TikTok has said, please tell which places in Germany are facing wildfires. Well, we've already talked about Hürtgenwald, but there are other parts of the country as well, aren't there?
Yeah, there are fires, smaller fires currently. It's very difficult to say where fires are right now. It's easy to see on the map, but nobody knows about tomorrow. So in general, we nearly need a weather change now, and we hope for the temperature drop to come over the weekend with a little bit of rain, hopefully. But this temperature change will also bring thunderstorms, and this will be also, again, a very critical situation with a changing wind situation. So, yeah, everybody out there, just be safe and be very careful what you do and where you are.
Yeah, I just pick up on something that Peter P has sent us on YouTube, saying they're not big fires in Germany. You're starting them now because it's become too obvious. You are the ones behind the Spanish fires, he says. Of course, we're very much aware that other countries, particularly France and, of course, Spain, have had huge fires over the summer. But the point of this is that we're just showing how they are spreading. Germany and, of course, the UK, which yourself, Alexander, you were just talking about. And interesting with the UK, the fact that the fires had spread into urban areas as well, not just in the UK. But is that a surprise that it's not just rural areas?
You know, in the fire world, we call these fires typically the wild and urban interface fires, where infrastructure is meeting biomass, basically. And it is a very special situation because suddenly you mix different strategies, different tactics from structure protection and wildland firefighting. And it stretches resources dramatically because you need a lot of resources to protect individual houses. And fire services reach their limits very, very fast under these situations. And that's why we need a lot more empowerment for the individual citizen, for the communities, to do their part of the homework in making their environment a little bit more fire resilient. And this would go hand in hand with a national effort in the UK. I mean, for a good year now, there is this UK national wildfire resilience program under development. And it just shows us it needs a lot more effort, it needs a lot more speed, and it's a task that is not only for the fire service. It needs the farmers, the foresters, and also what we see here, each and every citizen and community to contribute their part, what they can do to come to a future where everybody can fulfill their duty and hopefully avoid situations like this in the future.
Yeah, and you're talking there about what citizens can do and also talking about authorities and mentioning what the UK is doing. What can be done to prevent these fires in the future? Obviously, some regions working together and some countries, but overall, for the whole of Europe, it's more difficult, isn't it?
Oh, it is. We look at, we know from the fire research and from experience, we know the only factors we can really influence before a fire is not the weather, although we should. It's not the weather and the topography, but the biomass, the vegetation, the fuel for the fire. This is something we can influence. And this requires a very clear formulation of objectives. And what do we want in the future? In what country do we want to live? In what vegetation? Under what forestry? Under what land use by agriculture? And this, you see, it's already showing the fragmentation, because response on a fire is with the fire service, and then the mitigation side and the prevention side. This is forestry, this is agriculture, this is environment, this is tourism, this is spatial planning, and it is education in the broadest sense. So you see how difficult it is to bring all these stakeholders together. And we don't see this really happening on national levels, nor on European level, where you would need a kind of a overarching platform, overarching framework, where a lot of different stakeholders and agencies contribute, but at the same time give up a little bit of their mandate and empower an interagency operational platform that needs to be, if you compare it to the topic of wildfire, a platform like this needs to be free, dynamic, flexible, fast. So you see, are these attributes you would allocate to a national or European agency, or maybe more like a free market operation? It is a huge task ahead of us. We know what to do, but we need a lot of real commitment from all involved stakeholders, and this awareness that if we don't act now, we will have these summers like today next year and in the years to come.
Yeah, and just picking up on some more comments that are coming in on YouTube and TikTok. On YouTube, Milan says, seeing all of these fires, why are governments unable to prepare for this? And we've just been talking about this. And Max on TikTok says almost all the fires are caused by humans, which is a point. Of course, humans are very much involved in what's been going on here. But I just wanted to bring in a map. It's from windy.com, which just shows how hot Europe is at the moment. And it will get hotter as the day progresses. If we look at the UK, which is in the top left, it's definitely cooled down in some areas, particularly in the Midlands, where we saw those fires before. But what can we, if we just bring that map back, what can we learn from looking at that heat map? The fact that it isn't just in Southern Europe, but it is spreading. What can we learn from that? If we could just bring that map back up.
This map is good because it shows us different messages. It shows us that you look at the scale and the conditions that we have under these weather conditions, the availability of biomass for fire. How much fire service can you do we need to respond? It is just a matter of scale and a matter of intensity and simultaneous fire. So this map shows us how limited our response system is actually. It also shows us if we see our limits in responding to fires and controlling the element of fire under these conditions, we need to be proactive and say, okay, weather is just one input to the fire triangle and the fire behavior triangle. How are we living? And this is coming back to the comment on TikTok or YouTube. All fires are human caused, but it goes far beyond that, pointing at somebody and blaming somebody. And it goes beyond that. Yes, all fires are human induced, but all the landscape is human induced. All the landscape, the water consumption, the use of natural resources, how we live, how we consume, everything is human induced. And this contributes in a great way to this weather situation because we determine how dry the landscape is. We determine what type of forestry is available for the fire, what type of agriculture is disrupting water cycles and creating more burnable and flammable landscapes than it needed to be. So yes, the human factor is massive in this equation, but we have to be careful not to play this game. Oh, it's climate change or the human, and use one as the excuse for the other. We need to be very clear that we need to cooperate on all levels and maybe change our way of living. It sounds a bit dramatic. Change our way of living and be a little bit more respectful how we treat the land, because what we see now is a symptom of a mistreated landscape.
But just picking up on, you mentioned there climate change. This is still linked to climate change, is it? Because there are people who simply don't believe that and believe that this is just the way the world is changing.
It is definitely. If you see the speed of temperature rise, the speed of these extreme weather events, it's not a scenario anymore. It's not a prediction anymore. These are measured temperatures, measured drought, measured wind speed. This is definitely real, and it's in no way comparable to natural changes that occurred, in kind of prehistoric times. The speed of this is just phenomenal, and we see how overwhelmed our ecosystems are, our societies are, the speed of this is a very clear indication, and the frequency that this is very much linked to a change in climate, and everything else is just denial, and probably finding excuses to carry on our lifestyle as we used to.
Yes, and just one other comment on YouTube from Leonidas saying in Colorado, in the US, I guess, our fire season is now year-round. And that's a very alarming point, isn't it, that in some countries it doesn't seem to end?
Yeah, we even have this in Central Europe, where we see fire seasons, or at least the peaks where we used to have fires. This is no longer true, and we suddenly have winter fires. We had fires on New Year's in the mountains where you normally would expect a lot of snow. So these disruptions of the patterns, of the historical patterns that we used to know, is not only in Colorado. This is already here, and it is very, very alarming. And as long as we treat all these phenomena that we see as, an exemption or unprecedented or anything, it always gives us this excuse of, after the next rain, we go back to normal, or what we think is normal, and carry on how we did the last 200 years. And this is definitely leading nowhere. So we need to change our language as well. And this hopefully influences the awareness that this is not unprecedented, this is not unexpected, this is not surprising. This will be the next summer as well. And even if we have rain next summer, in the short run, we look at the extraordinary, unprecedented reports about heat and fire: 2003, 6, 7, 12, 15, 17, 18, 22, 25, 26. Oh, really? I'm really surprised that we have a hot summer. Are you?
Alexander Held, wildfire specialist at the European Forest Institute. Thank you very much for your insights, and also for that very strong warning to people that we need to, in some way, change how we are living. Thank you. I know that you've got another interview to go to, so we appreciate your time. Well, we will be keeping you up to date on this fire in Germany and those wildfires burning across Europe. I'm just wondering if we do still have our reporter who is in North-Rhein-Westphalia. She is not there, she is still dealing with that. But we will, of course, bring you up to date with what is happening with that fire across all our DW platforms. So do please keep an eye on those. I'm Forrest Whiting. Thank you very much for your company. Thank you for all the comments, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.